You feel as though you are inside reality, standing at the center of it, looking outward. The world appears to surround you effortlessly, as if it simply exists and you happen to be here to witness it. Objects sit where they are. Events unfold in front of you. Nothing about the experience feels constructed. It feels immediate, personal, and undeniable. This sense of being inside reality is one of the strongest intuitions you possess. You do not feel like an observer watching a display. You feel present, embedded, participating directly. When you look at a tree, it seems as though the tree is simply there and your eyes are passively receiving it. When you hear a sound, it feels like the sound enters you from the outside. Experience feels like contact with the world itself. Because this feeling is constant, it goes unquestioned. You never wake up and ask whether you are actually experiencing reality or merely a version of it. The experience feels too close, too intimate to doubt. Doubt feels artificial, while perception feels natural. Reality as you experience it seems self-evident. But this sense of immediacy is precisely what makes the illusion so effective. The brain does not present you with a label saying interpretation in progress. It presents conclusions. You are not shown the steps, the delays, or the corrections. You are shown the finished result and encouraged to trust it completely. Richard Feynman often pointed out that the most dangerous assumptions are the ones we never realize we are making. One of those assumptions is that experience equals access, that seeing means encountering, that awareness means contact. We instinctively believe that reality exists fully formed and we simply open our senses to receive it. The feeling of being inside reality also gives you confidence. It makes the world seem stable and dependable. You expect the floor to be solid, the future to follow from the past, and objects to remain where you last saw them. This confidence is not philosophical. It is practical. It allows you to act without hesitation. Yet nothing in physics suggests that reality is arranged for your comfort. Nothing guarantees that the world should feel continuous, solid, or observer-friendly. Those qualities arise from how your nervous system presents information, not from how the universe fundamentally behaves. The experience of being here is not something you actively create. It happens automatically. Awareness arrives late, after perception has already done its work. By the time you feel present, decisions about what exists, what matters, and what is happening have already been made on your behalf. This creates a powerful illusion of transparency. It feels as though nothing stands between you and reality, no filter, no translation, just direct presence. But the absence of effort does not mean the absence of processing. It means the processing is hidden. Feynman warned that intuition, built from everyday experience, becomes unreliable the moment you ask deeper questions. Reality does not announce itself in human terms. It does not organize itself into objects and moments for your convenience. That organization happens inside you. The feeling of being inside reality is not proof that you are encountering it directly. It is evidence that the interface is working. You are not seeing reality as it is. You are seeing a version that feels coherent enough to trust. This feeling is not a flaw. It is the foundation of functioning. But once you mistake it for truth itself, curiosity stops. The world feels finished. Physics begins when that feeling is gently questioned, revealing that what feels like direct access has always been a carefully maintained illusion, quietly convincing you that you are inside reality, when in fact you are inside an experience shaped long before you ever noticed it. It feels as though observation is something you do after the world has already made up its mind. Reality happens first, and then you notice it. Your role seems secondary, almost polite. You look, you listen, you register what is already there. Nothing about everyday experience suggests that observation could change anything. But in physics, observation is never neutral. It is not a silent witness standing at the edge of events. It is an interaction, and interactions leave traces. Feynman emphasized this again and again. To observe something is to disturb it, because observation requires physical processes. There is no way to look without touching, no way to know without affecting. Even at the human scale, observation is an active process. Your eyes do not simply receive light, they absorb photons. Your ears do not passively collect sound. They vibrate, converting pressure waves into electrical signals. Observation always involves energy transfer. Something must happen for information to exist at all. At the microscopic level, this becomes unavoidable. To see an electron, you must interact with it. You must scatter something off it, usually light or another particle. That interaction changes the electron's momentum, position, or energy. There is no hidden camera placed outside the universe. The act of looking becomes part of the event being studied. This is not a limitation of instruments. It is a feature of reality. The universe does not provide information for free. Every bit of knowledge has a physical cost. Feynman found this unsettling because it undermines the idea that there is a clean separation between observer and observed. The boundary, we imagine, does not exist in nature. What makes this even more uncomfortable is that the same principle applies to you. Your brain cannot observe without acting. The moment sensory data arrives, it is filtered, compared, interpreted, and shaped into meaning. Observation is not the last step in perception. It is entangled with decision, making, prediction, and memory. You are not a camera recording raw footage of the world. You are a system constantly asking what is most likely happening right now, and adjusting the answer based on incoming signals. Observation becomes a negotiation between expectation and input. What you see is not what arrives, it is what survives that negotiation. This is why two people can witness the same event and report different realities. They are not lying. Their observations were never passive to begin with. Each observer brought different priors, attention patterns, and interpretations into the act of seeing. Reality did not enter them unchanged. Feynman disliked the word observer because it sounds detached in physics. An observer is just another physical system, no special status, no privileged viewpoint. When you observe something, you are part of the experiment whether you like it or not. The idea of passive observation also creates a comforting illusion of objectivity. It makes you feel that truth exists independently of perspective waiting to be collected. But physics shows that perspective is inseparable from measurement. What you can know depends on how you interact. This does not mean reality is subjective or imaginary. It means that reality is relational. Properties are not revealed in isolation. They emerge through interaction position. Energy, even time, become meaningful only when systems influence one another. Your everyday experience hides this from you. The scale of your body and the stability of your environment smooth out these effects, making the world feel solid and observer independent. But that stability is an approximation, not a fundamental truth. Once you accept that observation is never passive, the feeling of standing outside reality collapses. You are not watching the universe. You are participating in it, constantly. Every glance, every measurement, every moment of awareness is an exchange, not a reflection. Feynman's deeper insight was not that observation ruins purity, but that purity was never there to begin with. The universe does not exist first and get observed later. It exists through interactions. And observation is simply one of the ways those interactions unfold. There is a powerful feeling that sits at the center of your life, the sense that you are inside reality, watching it unfold. Events happen out there, and you experience them in here. The world appears solid, continuous, and independent, while your awareness seems like a clear window looking out. This feeling is so convincing that it rarely gets questioned. But this is the illusion. What you actually experience is not reality itself. It is a constructed substitute, an internal model that stands in for the external world. The observer illusion is the belief that this model is reality, rather than a useful replacement for it. Your brain never gives you the world directly. It cannot. Signals arrive late, incomplete, noisy, and fragmented. Light hits your eyes after traveling for time. Sound reaches your ears already distorted. Touch arrives as electrical impulses long after atomic interactions have finished, by the time information reaches consciousness. Reality has already moved on. To cope with this delay, the brain does something remarkable and dangerous. It predicts, it fills gaps, it smooths discontinuities, it invents continuity where none exists. What you experience is not the incoming data, but the brain's best guess about what must be happening right now. This guess feels immediate, seamless, and authoritative. That is why the illusion is so strong. Feynman understood that the brain's version of reality is not a photograph. It is a simulation, a fast, low-resolution, survival-oriented simulation that prioritizes usefulness over truth. The observer illusion emerges when you forget that you are inside this simulation and start believing you are witnessing the universe itself. Consider how stable the world feels. Objects do not flicker in and out of existence. Surfaces feel continuous. Time flows smoothly. Yet physics tells us that beneath this calm surface lies constant motion, randomness, and uncertainty. Atoms vibrate, fields fluctuate, particles appear and disappear. None of this turbulence reaches awareness. The brain filters it out because it must. A nervous system that exposed you to raw reality would be overwhelmed. So experience replaces reality with something manageable. The replacement works so well that you mistake it for the original. This is the observer illusion, confusing the interface for the system. You see a chair, not electromagnetic fields. You feel solidity, not quantum exclusion. You experience now, even though your brain is stitching together information from different moments. The illusion is not that these things are false, but that they are final. They feel like the last word on what exists. They are not. What exists is far richer and far stranger than what you experience. But you never encounter that richness directly. You encounter a curated version, shaped by attention, expectation, memory, and biological limits. Reality, as physics describes it, is abstract and relational. Reality, as you experience it, is concrete and narrative-driven. The observer illusion convinces you that awareness sits at the center of the universe, watching from a stable point. In truth, there is no center. There is no privileged viewpoint. You are just one physical process among others, interacting locally, constructing meaning internally. This realization feels destabilizing because it threatens the sense of certainty. If experience is a model, then how much can you trust it? Feynman's answer was subtle. You can trust experience to function, but not to explain. Experience tells you how to act, not how things fundamentally are. It tells you when to step back, when to hold on, when something matters. The mistake is not having experiences. The mistake is mistaking them for explanations. The observer illusion also explains why reality feels personal. Your world feels centered on you because it is generated for you. No one else has access to your sensory model. No one else lives inside your version of now. This makes experience feel intimate and absolute, even though it is private and approximate. Physics does not deny your experience. It simply places it where it belongs, inside the observer, not inside the universe. Once you see this, a quiet shift happens. The world does not become unreal. It becomes layered. There is the world as it is, and the world as it is experienced. They are connected but not identical. You are not standing inside reality looking out. You are carrying a portable reality inside your head, one that updates constantly, hides its assumptions, and insists on its own completeness. The observer illusion is believing that this inner construction is the universe. Understanding that it is not does not take reality away from you. It gives it depth. Richard Feynman was deeply suspicious of the word knowing, not because knowledge is useless, but because people tend to confuse confidence with understanding. The deeper you go into physics, the more dangerous that confusion becomes. Certainty feels like progress, yet it is often the signal that questioning has stopped too early. In everyday life, knowing means being able to act. A chair will support you, so you sit, fire burns, so you pull away. This kind of knowing is practical and reliable. But Feynman warned that this is not the same as knowing how reality works. Physics demands a different kind of humility, one that accepts explanation without comfort. The problem begins when labels replace insight. We say we know something because we have given it a name. We say force, energy, particle, or observer, and the mystery feels resolved. But naming is not explaining. It only creates the illusion that understanding has been achieved. Feynman often pointed out that when you ask why enough times, you eventually hit bedrock. Not a final answer, but a rule. Electrons repel each other not because of a deeper reason that feels satisfying, but because that is how the universe behaves. The warning is subtle. If you stop at an answer because it feels familiar or intuitive, you have likely stopped too soon. This is where the observer illusion becomes dangerous. When experience feels direct, it convinces you that you already know what is happening. You feel like a witness to reality. So you trust the witness, but the witness is biased, limited, and constructed. The brain offers certainty where none exists. Feynman was not arguing for skepticism as paralysis. He was arguing for doubt as discipline. Real understanding requires living with unresolved questions. It requires accepting explanations that do not translate into mental pictures. The moment you demand that reality makes sense in human terms, you begin distorting it. Physics, at its core, is uncomfortable. It replaces solid objects with probabilities. It replaces causes with equations. It replaces intuition with consistency. The danger is not that this is hard to accept. The danger is pretending it has become easy. Feynman warned that the greatest obstacle to learning is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. When something feels obvious, you stop examining it. Touch feels obvious. Observation feels obvious. Existence feels obvious. Yet each of these collapses under careful inspection. The observer illusion feeds this complacency. It suggests that awareness gives authority, that seeing is equivalent to understanding. But observation in physics is interaction, not revelation. Measuring something changes it. Knowing something depends on how you probe it. There is no view from nowhere. This is why Feynman resisted philosophical comfort. He refused to explain away uncertainty with metaphors that sounded reassuring. He preferred precise discomfort to vague clarity. If an explanation made you feel calm too quickly, he assumed it was hiding something. True knowing, in Feynman's sense, is provisional. It is always open to revision. It is defined by what it predicts, not by how it feels. You do not know something because it seems right. You know it because it survives being wrong again and again. This stance is unsettling because it strips away intellectual safety. There is no final picture to rest in. There is no ultimate explanation waiting to be reached. There are only better models, each with limits clearly marked. The observer illusion tempts you to believe that experience is the final court of appeal. Feynman's warning is that experience is only evidence, never verdict. Reality does not care how clearly you think you see it. In the end, Feynman was not asking you to abandon knowing. He was asking you to treat it carefully, to hold knowledge lightly, to resist the comfort of feeling certain, to accept that understanding reality means forever standing at the edge of what cannot be fully grasped. That discomfort is not a failure of knowledge. It is the cost of honesty. Right now, as you read or listen to these words, it feels like you are simply observing, sitting still, taking in information, letting ideas pass through your mind. It feels passive, almost weightless, as if understanding is happening to you rather than through you. But that feeling is another illusion, quiet, subtle, and deeply convincing. You are not watching reality from the inside. You are actively constructing a moment. Every sensation you experience right now is the result of interaction. Light is striking your eyes. Sound waves are deforming your eardrums. Electrical signals are moving through neurons. None of this is happening out there and then arriving unchanged inside your mind. The act of experiencing is already an act of participation. Even reading feels effortless only because your brain is performing millions of operations per second without permission or awareness. Symbols on a screen are turned into shapes, then letters, then meaning. Gaps are filled. Ambiguities are resolved. Context is imposed. You never see the raw data, you receive the conclusion. This is the observer illusion in its most intimate form. It convinces you that there is a clear boundary between you and what you observe, that there is a stable you on one side and a stable world. On the other, physics offers no such boundary. Interaction runs both ways or it does not exist at all. At this moment, your brain is predicting what comes next, not consciously, but constantly. It anticipates the next word, the next idea, the next sensation. When predictions are met, reality feels smooth. When they fail, surprise appears. Consciousness in this view is not awareness of the present, it is the management of expectation. Feynman would say that what you are doing right now is not witnessing truth, but updating a model. You are adjusting internal representations to better align with interactions. Understanding does not mean seeing reality as it is. It means reducing error between expectation and outcome. This reframes thinking itself. Thought is not detached reflection. It is internal interaction. Neurons influence other neurons. Patterns reinforce or dissolve. Meaning emerges not from ideas floating freely, but from physical processes obeying physical laws. Even the sense of now is constructed. There is no universal present moment arriving intact from the outside world. Your brain stitches together signals arriving at different times and labels the result as immediate. The present you experience is already a memory, smoothed and stabilized just enough to feel real. This realization is unsettling because it removes the idea of mental safety. There is no neutral ground where you stand apart from reality and evaluate it objectively. Every act of knowing changes the system that knows. Every act of observing is an intervention. But there is also something liberating here. If you are not a passive observer, then you are not trapped inside your head watching a distant universe unfold. You are embedded in it, participating continuously, shaping and being shaped by every interaction, no matter how small. Right now, you are not receiving truth. You are negotiating meaning. Your sense of self, the feeling that you are the one doing the observing, is another construction layered on top of this process. It is a useful anchor, not a fundamental entity. The brain generates it because coordination requires a reference point. But physics does not locate a self. It locates activity. Feynman never tried to replace this experience with something colder or more abstract. He accepted that we must live inside these illusions. The mistake is not having them. The mistake is forgetting that they are tools, not windows. So what are you actually doing right now? You are interacting with patterns of light and sound, translating them into meaning, updating your internal models, and reinforcing a story called you in the process. You are not standing still. You are in motion, even in silence. Reality is not happening in front of you. It is happening with you. And the moment you stop mistaking experience for truth, the universe does not become less real. It becomes far more alive than you ever suspected.